We're starting with a new module, which is Module 3, and we're going to start looking at these things called relations. And so let's take a look at the definition. So a relation is just a set of ordered pairs. A domain is the x values in the ordered pairs. The range is the y values in the ordered pairs. And then we have these two other definitions, which are important, but I'm not going to really focus much on. So I'm going to look at the dependent variable first. The dependent variable is usually the y value, which is the second value in the ordered pair. It depends on x. So, as you know, for example, if you are looking at class attendance on a given day of a week, let's say that it's on Tuesday we have 20 students and on Wednesday we have 25 students, then y, the number of students, is dependent on which day of the week that we pick to evaluate. So that's really what the dependent variable is. The other one is the independent variable. So x is normally the one, time, anything like that is usually based on that. So that's what we look at when we look at those different values. And I'm going to give you some examples of those kind of as we go through this. So moving on to the next resource, we can see that we have a set of values that represents the days. So we are looking at the relationship between the number of minutes we spend driving on a driver's training course. Of course, there's 7 days in a week. So that would be our x values, and our y values would be we drive the first day 30 minutes, then 45, then 20, then 45, etc., to represent the minutes. And so all it is we're looking at these particular values as being our relation. But our relation really is 1 and 30. On day 2, it's 45. On day 3, it's 20. On day 4, it's 40, and so on. So when we're looking at the relations, remember it's a set of points. So this would be my x values. These would be my y values. And the domain is just the set of x values. So when we look at all these values together, this would be my domain. And these numbers right here would be my range. So pretty straightforward for those. Pretty clear, basic definition of those just to see how those work. So notice here, we have some numbers here. So we have, and this is not from the same problem up here, by the way. So we have these 3 points. So when I say points, I'm talking about what's in between the parentheses. We have an x value and a y value, an x value and a y value, an x value and a y value. So anytime we're looking at points, x always comes first, y always comes second. And we'll get into that a little bit more when I go over to the PDF file and give some examples. So when we look at the relations, we have one relation. That is that all of these sets of points are inside my relation. So if I click on that, it's basically everything. The domain are just the x values. So you can see 3, -4, and 0. And what's really important about that, though, and they don't show you on this one, is that whenever you come up with a domain, you always start off with the lowest number and increase going up to the highest number. So it would be -4, 0, and 3. My range would go, again, just like the domain, start off with the lowest number, -2, and then 1, and then 5 would be my range. So that's really what we look at when we're seeing those particular values. So on this next slide, we're going to see an example. So we have some numbers here, 2, 0, 0, 4, 3, -5, -3, -5. So we see those particular values that we have here. So we have, sorry about that. Let's bring that up, get this going. So we have 2, 0, 0, 4, 3, -5, and -3, -5. So we have those points that we have there. I believe those are the points. Yep. And we want to figure out, okay, that is a set. Now notice it's a set because it's inside those curly braces there. So if I want to define it as a set or a relation, that's how we define it as a set. Now, there's multiple ways to define it. This is one way. There are 3 other ways that you need to know. A second way would be that if I draw a table and I label it. So I'm going to split it up here. My X values are going to go here. My Y values are going to go here. I have 4 points. So I have 4 things that I have there. So this is 2, 0, 0, 4, 3, -5, and -3, -5. So this is how you would create a table. Normally on a table, the best way to do it is always set it up with the X value at the lowest, Y value then just follows with it. So in reality, what I would do, and I'm not going to grade you on this, at least in terms of correctness right now, as long as you fill out the table and you put the points together correctly. Notice that my lowest value of X is -3, so that would be -3, -5. And then I have 0, 4, and then 2, 0, and then 3, -5. Notice that the X values are in order from lowest to highest. Y values are not. They correspond to the X values. Now, 2 other ways that we that we deal with these. One is a table. The second one is a graph. So we're going to go over to the graph and we're going to plot those points. So first point we're going to plot here is, we should open it up and get this done, huh? So 2, 0. So what that means for that particular point, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller so we can see it. So we'll go down to 50 probably. So here's my origin. At the origin, which is called O, that point right there is 0, 0. Because we always do all my points in an XY format. So X is first, Y is second. So 2, 0 would tell me that I'm going to go over 2 on the X. So notice X is always on the horizontal for now. So I'm going to go 1, 2, and I'm going to go up 0. So it's going to be right at the point on the axes right there. So that's 2, 0. And then I'm going to do 0, 4. 0, 4 says we stay on the y-axis and we go up 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it'll be right up here. And then we have to do 3, -5. So I'm going to do 3, -5. So I do 1, 2, 3, and then down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it'll be right there. And the last thing I'm going to do is -3, -5. And so then we go backwards on the X, 1, 2, 3, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it's going to be this point right over here. So another way to do it is by graphing it. So that's the third way to do it. So we now have the relation, we now have the table, and we have graphing. And then our fourth way of doing it is what is known as mapping. Mapping's kind of like a table, except we're going to split up the columns. So we're going to put the X columns here. I'm not going to put a line inside the map for the X values. What we're going to do with the X values is we're going to put them in order: -3, 0, 2, and 3. We're going to have our Y values. We're also going to put all the Y values in order, and we're not going to write any repeated numbers. So we're only going to write any number that's repeated just one time. So we have -5, but notice we have -5 and -5, so it just stays -5. And then we have 0, and then we have 4. So I'm putting those in order. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to, sorry about that. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to map my numbers across. So we have -3 goes with -5. We have 0 goes with 4. We have 2 goes with 0. And we have 3 also goes with -5. So it's going to come across like that. So we're going to map the numbers from X to Y, put arrows there to indicate what those values are and what those points are. So we have -3, -5, 0, 4, 2, 0, and 3, -5. And that is how we do the first part. We'll come back to the rest of the problems and the rest of the slides in the next video.